was really good. So I want my little treat at the end. After puppy performs a trick, it wants a treat.
Hmm.
So, all
You've been a
right.
good boy. You've been a good boy.
All right. And I hope you've been a good boy this week. Welcome back to Richard Island, man.
We're the best podcast. We're the best podcast in the world.
Oh, yeah.
The
If
best
we were
podcast for rating magic cards, anyway.
That's right. That's right. We come down here to the island every week and rub the bellies of our favorite magic cards and some of our least favorite magic cards as well. Currently, our number one favorite, greatest magic card of all time, as rated by the Richard Island crew itself, is
Yokolop.
Yokelop. Yeah, all right.
Yeah,
Yokelop, number
all
one.
the way at number one. And all the way down at the bottom at number 33 is Valiant Guard.
Oh, that's right.
Yep, it's
That
not Fenrir Archers anymore.
feels good though. I it's good knowing that the archers and the guards, they're down there, on their guard duty, protecting the bottom of our list, protecting our behinds, as they say.
Hmm.
All right, cool. But today we got like an exciting new arrival. What's been drawn to the island this week, Chad?
Oh, you weren't kidding when you mentioned a new arrival. This card is Ethereal Forager coming to us from the Commander 2020 set. Uh, Ethereal Forager is a blue elemental whale. It costs 4 uncolored and 2 blue to cast. However, there is a alternate delve casting cost where each card you exile from your graveyard while casting the spell pays for 1 uncolored mana. Uh, Ethereal Forager has flying, and whenever it attacks, you may return an instant or sorcery card exiled with Ethereal Forager to its owner's hand. And the other thing is that it's illustrated by Nicholas Gregory.
Excellent, excellent. Yeah, yeah. We're just we had a little just tiny little pre-show conversation leading to things to come, but we usually like to start at the top. What we call this card, the nombre, as they say, right?
The Ethereal Forager. Now, here's the thing. Like when you think of the word foraging, you're thinking about like small animals like on the forest floor looking
Yeah,
for food, right? Yeah.
yeah. That's definitely a strategy for foraging for sure.
This, this is some kind of fucking space whale.
Yes, yes. And which is always interesting, right? Like it's always crazy when people are like, what do whale like look at how big a whale is. What do whales eat? They must have to eat like 20 other giant things a day. It's like, nope, they just swim with their mouths open. And whatever happens to reach the gaping maw. And so so it's kind of a different strategy for foraging rather than targeted removal. This is like mass removal.
Hmm.
you know so yeah, is that foraging, Chad, when you just cast it, when you just take a net and drag it through the ocean?
I don't know. Let's see what Google says.
Yeah, Google, set us straight here on possible methods of foraging.
To search widely for food or provisions, obtain food or provisions, or obtain food or provisions from a place.
Ah, okay, so technically when I go to the
Yes,
grocery store, I'm
yeah,
foraging.
yes, you are. Also,
Hell
if you
yeah.
happen to be looking in the dumpster behind the grocery store, that's also foraging.
Basically, if you hungry and you on the look, you're a
Uh,
forager now.
Unless someone else brings you food, you
Yeah,
have foraged.
yeah. Then
You could,
then
I
you're
think you could even forage through your refrigerator.
yeah. I think if not, you're just like an ethereal beneficiary,
Hmm.
right? If food just happens to find its way in your mouth, like a babe. But here's the part that the foraging part didn't even bother me because like I'm kind of familiar with whales and how they roll and stuff like that. That didn't seem too bad, right? But like ethereal,
Hmm.
what? Like
What do you
do,
think of when you hear ethereal?
see, once again, Chad, I know you're probably going to English me right now, but but when I think of ethereal, I think of something that's like, oh my god, it's like it like barely exists, but it's like light and beautiful, but it like if you even touch it, it'll disappear. Is that, I know that's not how Webster defines it, but that's
You
what I
you
think
you're
of.
actually fairly close
All
to
right,
the
like
actual
most things.
dictionary definition. Uh, Dictionary definition: extremely delicate and light in a way that seems too perfect for this world. So that's like that sort of sense of beauty and light that you were
Yeah,
thinking about.
instead of like an evil ghost, I think of like something like, you know,
Like a hot ghost that you want to fuck, but as soon as your dick touches it, she goes, "Pff," and you wake up.
yeah, you're like, oh, I did what I always do. I ruin things with my dick.
uh, but yeah, it's ethereal. It doesn't necessarily mean that it'll disappear easily. So it doesn't have to be a creature that once it's
Oh,
targeted by a spell goes away.
got
It
it.
just means that it is, sort of out of this world or heavenly or that sort of thing. So the
Okay.
fact that it's flying through the clouds, like, it does kind of make sense. But again,
Yeah.
a lot of this is about just our feeling towards the card, not necessarily what the card actually means.
Right, right. And especially too because like it doesn't say like what, I mean, I know this is a little bit about the rules, but this is related to the name. It doesn't
Mhm,
say when Ethereal Forager comes into play, remove your graveyard from play. Because that's what I
mhm,
kind of think like a whale, like and then you get to like pick from the cards that remove from the graveyard, right? It seems very
mhm,
like targeted. It's like you get to delve for exactly what you want to delve for, and actually only a maximum of 4, right?
mhm.
And you can't even take everything you delve with because you can delve any card, right? Like lands,
Yeah,
whatever, but you can only bring back. So it seems a little bit more selective than what I think of like a giant whale, space whale flying through that I thought would pop like a bubble. And yeah, so to me the name was actually, it was a little bit of a disconnect. So I gave it like a 2.
I gave it a two because I'm just like, yeah, that's not exactly what I would come up with if
Right.
you just gave me the name.
Yeah, because some names really like, they really hit it. You know what I mean? They really
Hmm.
like, the name really tells you the card. But I think if you were to think Ethereal Forager and then think about what
This
its
is not
rules
the
might,
card you would come up with.
rules or art or any of
Hmm.
that, flavor wise. Yeah. So that's why it was kind of a miss for me.
I
All
don't
right.
think that there's literally anything other than flying.
Yeah, yeah. The ethereal part definitely lends to the flying, and then the foraging. At least the fact that it's like a whale, and whales are always in the foraging business.
Hmm.
But yeah, yeah, no, it's a little bit of a miss for us. All right, sounds
But yeah,
good.
casting cost.
Buh.
This is the really interesting part
Ooh,
of the card,
okay,
in my
yeah. This is the
opinion.
part I wanted to discuss with you. Actually, I have a note here about that. Okay, cool. Let me hear it.
All right, so the casting cost is 4 uncolored and 2 blue, which I think we can all agree is quite a bit too much for a 3/3 flyer.
Buh. Yeah, it's awful.
However, it has an alternate casting cost. Instead of paying the
Okay,
4 uncolored and 2 blue, every card that you exile from your graveyard when you cast this pays off 1 uncolored. So you could theoretically cast this for just 2 blue.
yeah. Okay, so this is my question. Do you like to include abilities such as delve or suspend,
Hmm.
right? Because do you like to consider them in your rating of the casting cost, or do you consider those parts as a rating in the rules? Because you can't, even if it had no rules text, it still has a casting cost, right?
Hmm.
And in the case of say a suspend card, it doesn't even have a casting cost. So cards that refer to casting cost can't even reference that. So you have to talk about the suspend mechanic in the rules section because there is no way to cast that card with its casting cost. You know what I mean? It casts for free, I think, or it says you may play this card. I think once you remove the last time counter, I don't think you even cast it.
Hmm.
I believe is how. We'll have to look that one up again later. All right, cool. But so yeah, so that being said, how do you think we should treat cards like this in the future? Because that will deter. Because I have 2 scores.
I think that suspend is different from delve in terms of changing the casting cost.
Okay.
Delve is closer to isn't there like another mechanic where it's like however many artifacts you have?
Affinity.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I think delve is closer to that than it is to suspend. Suspend is I think, more of a rules mechanic than a alternate casting
Well,
cost.
okay, so well, here's see this like I have to admit, you gotta admit, our group in the history of this game, we haven't always been the most rules deep lawyery group. We never usually have to go
Hmm.
super layered down to figure this. But here's the weird thing. I think one is a status based effect. So
Hmm.
affinity is like what it does is it checks
Checks,
for a
yeah.
situation. And I think in the case of something like Delve, it's a cost. It's you pay that cost.
Hmm.
So they are two slightly different mechanics in that regard.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
So so
I can see
yeah.
that this would be more of a rules based mechanic.
Yeah, so that's why I'm so for this one, I kind of was leaning on I would I knew my casting cost grade might be harsh, but I also knew that like Delve being in the rules text would counterbalance that score. And you know, and then, like I said, I don't want to totally hammer on that casting cost because things that have Delve, right?
Hmm.
Sometimes decks really take advantage of that, right?
Hmm.
Or you know those cards with cycling that have huge mana cost. So it's like when the mana cost is inconvenient to you, you cycle it away, or in this case, you delve, right? But in the
Hmm.
cases where like you have those cards where you want to see those haymaker casting costs, those like 10 casting cost treasure cruises or something crazy, right? Then you have that number still in the top there. That we said the same thing actually about Star of Extinction, is that
Hmm.
like you know, it was kind of like its casting cost could be like somewhat not an advantage, but like you know, there were cards that like the fact that they were expensive wasn't always a drawback, you know. And then
Hmm.
this one has kind of a built-in escape clause that has like a function to, I don't know.
If we're saying that delve is part of the rules mechanic rather than casting cost, this is a fucking one.
Yeah, that's okay. That was my score if I was considering them separately, because it is right. A 6 mana 3/3 flying that when it comes into play does nothing
Hmm.
is that's as bad as it gets.
Yeah.
You're not gonna find other cards printed that are worse.
It's like you're basically like, hey, do you remember what was it, Phantom Monster, Ethereal Monster?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's
Phantom
like double
Monster.
that.
Right. And for what? Then once again, for nothing, right? It's just like
Yeah, yeah, for nothing.
assuming the because the other rules text don't take an effect unless you're anyway. We'll get more into that when we get into the rules, obviously. But yeah, this casting cost is bad. It is a
Yeah.
one. So, but and then you know, moving on to other parts of the card. Oh, Chad, did you like the whale? Did you like the art? Did the ethereal forager do it for you?
The only thing that I like about the art is that the tail is obscured. So it's like maybe it's not exactly a whale that's just floating around. Because
Yeah,
like there are hints that it's not quite a whale in the way that we think about it, just due to the fact that it's like, well, it's got four fins. We
right.
usually only see two.
And and would you really call those fins?
I
I don't
mean, it
don't
does still look like it's.
don't they look like the little hands that crabs have? You know what I'm talking about? There's the pincers, right?
Mhm.
And then there's all those like other little things that come out the body. Doesn't it look that way to you? They look like those weird.
No, they don't look jointed at all to me.
I don't, okay. Oh, okay. Yeah, but they have like a plated, a chitinous, you know, kind of look to them, right? No,
I don't personally believe so, but uh, we see what we want to see. Art is it's subjective.
it really is. And you know what? Okay, getting into like just weird personal quirks, uh,
Hmm.
barnacles gross me out. I hate when whales have like the things, like, you know what I mean? It's like the sea equivalent of like boils. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Like to me, like crusty things to me look like that's how like the ocean. What it does is it like it just builds sediment on you and just literally petrifies you. And I don't know. It's like this thing has that kind of like for some reason it doesn't look smooth. Like like an orca.
Hmm.
So, you know what I mean? That thing looks like a torpedo, just whew, just smooth, cutting through the water.
Yeah,
But
this
like,
this looks more like a lumpy ass humpback.
yeah, and it's like it's got these awkward things. It's not aerodynamic at all. But I get the ethereal thing, and it's just kind of like, oh, I'm being
Yeah, it
propelled
doesn't
by
need to be aerodynamic.
it doesn't need to be aerodynamic, but art wise, I don't like that.
Hmm.
It's not aesthetically pleasing, and it's to me it's not adding to this card. Like I wouldn't like, how there's some cards you'll buy the a certain print of it just because you like the artwork of it. Same
Hmm.
card, different art.
Yeah.
Like I would like this if it had different art, I think. But I
Hmm.
like the art actually makes me even less inclined to play this. I would only play this begrudgingly in a deck that like did a whole bunch of like self mill, and I was
Hmm.
looking for effects like this, right? Like the art doesn't compel me to play this card. So like I just I personally didn't like it. I don't know if it's like a 1 or a 2. It's hard
I,
for me to.
I I gave it a 2 because I said the only thing I really like about it is the fact that Tail's obscured. So it's like I don't know what's going on in the back. It could be all kinds of cool stuff.
Yeah.
The other thing that I think about when I look more and more at this is I find the coloring of this to be phenomenal. Like
Oh,
the more
yeah.
I stare at it, like just the way that everything pops, the different shades of blue, like really fully separating from each other, like the sort of misty
Mm,
stuff that's coming out of its mouth versus the blue of its skin. And like you said, you
right.
actually were able to get a feeling for the texture of the whale
Yeah, I
based on
was.
looking at this card, which I think has a lot to do with coloring and shading. And
Yeah.
I think that on a mechanical level, this card is beautiful. On a scale of looking at the thing that it is, you're just like, meh.
Yeah, I feel bad. I feel bad that like I joke about this sometimes, that like how judgmental we are about things we don't find beautiful.
Hmm.
It's kind of like it's like that delicious fruit that is like in this like weird casing. We're just like, oh, I want to eat that or whatever. And
Yeah, it's like, well, what if the most delicious vegetable in the world came in a thing that looked like a baby's head?
Jesus.
It's like you have to like peel the skin off in order to eat it, but it's like, oh, it's delicious and healthy,
Yeah, I
but it
do it
looks
one.
like you are murdering an infant.
Yeah, I do it once so I could post it on my Instagram, but
Hmm.
that's it. No, I'm just kidding. No,
But
all
yeah, I
right.
gave the art a 2.
Yeah, you know what? It's a 2. It's a 2. It's not a 1 because it's not like just completely like what the hell is this and I hate it.
Hmm.
Yeah, you're right.
It's
You're
like
right.
it's like this is a well drawn and painted card that just so happens to be something you don't want to look at.
I That is one thing I've learned, Chad, about art. I know this is going to sound so stupid to smart people, but it's like it's so funny how like the way that art makes me feel
Hmm.
has such a bearing on my experience, right? So it's like it is almost useless for me to ask the artist exactly what they meant.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Because really what's real about the experience is what it's meaning to me,
Hmm.
and the fact that all it did was evoke a barnacle or chitinous armor, and all of a sudden I'm just like, you know what I mean? It's weird how like through no intention, or maybe through intention of the artist, it almost doesn't even matter. It's just, man, it's so weird how it gives you the feels. All right.
Yeah, that's the whole death of the author thing. It doesn't
Mm,
matter what the intention
I love that
of the
phrase.
artist is. It's
Yeah.
all how the viewer interacts with it.
That's a great thing to like help conceptualize that. Yeah, the death of the author. Beautiful.
Hmm.
All right, awesome. So tight, interesting, right? I don't think we've had this before. Elemental whale.
Elementals well supported, whales not so
Nah.
much.
But anyway, it's an elemental whale. It's a creature. I don't even think this ability is that special on a creature. I mean, I thought this was a 2. I mean, I didn't.
Too.
Yeah, it was all right.
Yeah, this is not the kind of creature where it's like, oh well, I know it's a creature, but look at all the cool stuff you get for playing this. This is like, I mean, elementals are having their day in the sun now, but it's not something where it's just like, yes, you must play every elemental you ever come across.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. Um, so it came in at rare,
Yeah.
um, in the printing, which we decided is actually relevant. Thank you,
Hmm.
Chad.
It's
And
rare, so it can't go in your pauper deck.
yeah, can't go in your popper deck. And the idea too is like now I kind of think it's sort of back to where I was, I guess maybe like before I got angry at the rarity thing, back to where it's like it's not so much that this is a rare card, but now it's like taking up the slots they would have allotted for rares, because when they're making these commander decks, they only include so many rares, you know. uh it's not going to be like your own homemade commander deck where
Hmm.
a great majority of it could be rares, right? Like this is taking up. So I think of that now when I think of it. I'm like opportunity cost. Like I like the way I almost think of it in draft. Like I am getting this instead of what else could possibly be in the rare spot,
Hmm.
right? And let me tell you, I was not pleased.
Yeah. This is a pretty janky fucking rare.
This is a janky rare. Like you like this is the kind of janky rare that optimistic Anthony falls for. You know what I mean? When I'm like living the dream, I'm like 2 mana, 3/3 flying. That's gonna return 4 instants or sorceries to my hand, and I'm just like, whoa there, dreamer. You know what I mean? And it's like that's not what this rare is. This rare, you're right. This rare is jank. I gave it a score as such. It is a 2.
Two.
Um,
Now, printing. This is
printing.
something I actually left blank on my list because I needed to ask you if you know,
Okay, holla.
out of the Commander 2020 decks, what deck is this from? Like,
Oh,
what's the theme of the deck that this is in?
all right, Chad. This is gonna blow your mind. All
All
right,
right.
so this is this deck,
Mm-hmm.
or it's good that you looked this up. This is worth us mentioning. Uh, this is the best deck that was printed in Korea 2020.
Okay.
Like all like everything. Like part of the criticism of the Ikoria commander decks is there is zero value in any
Mm-hmm.
of the deck. Like there's like barely cards worth more than like you might be lucky if you get a $5 card in your commander decks. They're all like straight janky garbage, right? Except for these certain cards, right? That
Mm-hmm.
if you control your commander, you can pay these cards without paying your casting costs. And this deck contains Fierce Guardianship, which is the one where it's like it's a basically it's a force of will, right? It's like you can cast it without paying its casting cost. You don't even have to discard an extra card. You can just play it for free, and it counters a non-creature spell, which is awesome because it's hard to hold up mana on 3 opponents' turns, right? So having
Mm-hmm.
as long as your commander's in play, this is like a free negate. You
Yeah.
know?
The other thing in this deck that I think might be worth money is the Locust God.
Oh, right. Yeah, exactly. But that's just a good that's a good creature.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, so funny enough, so if you want to give this a score, I think it at least gets a 3 on the printing because even though Ikoria Commander was like meh,
It's
of
part of
the
the best Ikoria Commander deck.
exactly, this is the best of the Guardian cycle. I mean, arguably probably all of them except for the green one they're all probably pretty playable in my
Mm-hmm.
opinion. Like I definitely would like to get the other 4 colors of guardianships, eventually. But yeah, this is at least as far as dollar value. I think it's like a $30 card, and so even though maybe you're not getting a lot of value from your ethereal forager as your rare, the fact that you're getting this in your deck almost kind of makes the trip worth it. So maybe like a 3 for printing.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
That works for me.
because it wouldn't have got that if it didn't come in the deck that had the most valuable commander card in it.
Hmm.
You know, I believe you also get an arcane signet, so that usually makes the trip worth it too.
Yeah, like those things are like what, $4 a pop?
Yeah, that's right for like a thing you need in just Like, what commander deck's not running that? Oh no, I
Hmm.
was wrong. It's not in there.
No, Arcane Signet is in there.
Oh no, it is. It is. It is right there, by next
Yeah.
to those Aureus. I see it. Yeah. You know what? Hey, signets, and they're all good. They're all good. Play them. All right. So getting down, we're finally into the meat of the card. The rules.
Yeah. So the rules. Uh, this actually is slightly enhanced by knowing that it was created to be part of a cycling deck.
Yeah. Right. Makes more sense.
Yeah, because the whole idea behind this card is like you want to be able to recycle your instants and sorceries.
Mm-hmm.
This card, every time that you attack, you get to return an instant or sorcery card that was exiled via Ethereal Forager. So
Yeah.
the cards that you cast, in order to lower the casting cost to make this card better,
Right.
you are able to potentially get back,
Yep.
which makes this card better. And
Right.
it's like, this is not necessarily a good card at all.
Right.
Like I think by itself, just looking at it, you're just like, why are you like this? What is wrong with you? You're a great
Who raised
disappointment to
you?
your mother and father.
Yeah. Who raised you? Yeah.
But
That's exactly right.
it's like when you think about the context of the card, you're just like, oh, I can see how this would be really good.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
that's a fucking trap.
Oh.
Because you're imagining all the ways that it could be
Oh,
good.
like we were talking about earlier, right? When you see the dream scenario of the card.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this card, yeah, the trap of the card is you see the 6 casting cost, or you think I'm getting a 3/3 flyer on the cheap or something, and bringing back all this other stuff. You think like this is to me it's about perception. If you think of this like a normal 6 drop, like that's not actually how it functions.
Mm-hmm.
This card is a role player on your team. You know, it's not a finisher, it's not a game winner. It's like it's just another synergistic card that can help out. And I think more realistically, you should think to yourself, like, here's what makes this card kind of janky is if it's in your opening hand, you're really bummed,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Because it's going to be a while before you have 4 instants or sorceries in your
Yeah.
graveyard.
And in that and unlike the other useful cycling cards, which can at least pitch themselves until the moment of truth, right? Or the not modal cards, but the ones that like adapt or get
Mm-hmm.
monstrous or whatever. At least you can pop out the small version first. Like, what I don't like about this card is there's no like early version of this. You have to kind of play it late game, right? But it's not a late game card. It's a role player card. So it's
Mm-hmm.
like, you're right. This card has Identity Crisis, and Identity Crisis usually smells trap.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like the way that I was thinking about this card is like you want to imagine the best case scenario
I love
of
it.
looking at this card.
Yeah.
And in the best case scenario, it's amazing. It's like, what is the best case scenario for you, Anthony, with this card?
I like I turn one play some kind of I play like a trickery charm on myself, and like somehow mill for 4 on turn 1. And then on turn 2, I play this. I delve all the cards out, and I got a 3/3 flyer on turn 2. And that
What's the likelihood in this dream scenario that all how many of those cards are instants or sorceries?
you're right. I probably get maybe 1 back.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a card that I milled myself. I kind of like added like an extra card to my hand because I'll probably likely get to attack, and maybe you know what? I wouldn't need something that milled me for 4, because the spell I played on turn 1 would also be in my graveyard. So yeah, the
Mm-hmm.
dream scenario is I play a 1 mana spell that mills me for 3, and I play this on turn 2. It's something that's going to apply light pressure to one of my opponents and possibly deter early attacks, while at the same time probably getting me back, if not the mill spell, which is a theme of my deck probably, maybe something else that got taken off the top. That's the best thing,
Mm-hmm.
right? And that's a very specific start. And I
Yeah.
am not building a deck around getting a turn 2 Ethereal Forager.
Yeah. The way that I was thinking about this card is like, okay, obviously that dream scenario is it's a nice dream to have, but
That's why it's a
not realistic
dream.
at all. Yeah,
Yeah, that's why it's a dream.
in all likelihood, you're going to be playing this at the earliest, like turn 4, turn 5.
Yeah, that's more realistic.
Yeah, at the earliest.
Mhm.
And the thing is, chances are, once like turn 5 rolls around, a 3/3 flyer is only going to get to attack once before it's blocked by something that's going to kill it.
Right.
So the thing is, if you're exiling like 2 cards or 3 cards with this to try and cut down on the cost of it,
Mhm.
and you're hoping to get those cards back, I got some bad news for you, buddy.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, see, that's why I think people really like those cards that just come like it's an enter the battlefield effect. See,
Mhm.
that's the real deceptive part is like because it's every time it attacks, you start thinking ceiling, right? So you
Mhm.
start thinking I can get back up to 4 spells. That's like there's a 7 mana casting cost creature that doesn't even have flying that only brings back 2
Mhm.
spells, right? And this guy could possibly only cost 2 mana because of Delve and could bring back 4 spells if you attack 4 times. But 4 attacks is a lifetime.
Mhm.
Even if you could bring back 4, like honestly, I would just rather draw 4 cards. I'd rather play one one brain geyser or, stroke of genius or something like that and just get 4 cards than have to attack 4 times to get those same 4 cards. Yeah, this card, like you're right. This is classic trap. It's like we're getting better at sniffing these things out.
Mhm.
So, what did you end up giving it on a score wise though?
2.
Yeah, that's where two's
Yeah,
right.
because it's
It's
like the
almost it's
trap.
almost a 3, right? It's
Yep,
almost a 3. So
but
close.
it doesn't hurt your deck.
Yeah,
It's just
yeah.
like this is a very suboptimal card to put in there.
Yeah, you're gonna just find that like you're not gonna get the dream scenario, and then you're just
Mhm.
gonna see this thing doing its thing in regular everyday life. And when you play it late, you're probably unlikely to get your spell back that you exiled, right?
You can
And if
probably get one.
yeah, so are all the spells you exiled, and if you play it like mid game, like I said, I just don't think it's gonna have a big enough impact for what you need at that stage of the game to really want to be playing this. So okay, cool. And then the easiest part of the card. What'd you think of the flavor, Chad?
No flavor.
Tasteless.
Mhm.
All right.
This card is like suffering from COVID-19. Afterwards, no flavor.
So, well, that landed me on a 15 total.
I got a 14.
Yeah. So we're in the same ballpark. Do we have a section for trap cards? What were other traps near miss things that like look like they had high ceilings, but realistically they're kind of just hovering near the floor most of the time?
Mm, I don't think that we have a section for trap cards. Like the trappiest card that we have is Arcane Teachings, I think,
Oh, I remember
where
that.
it's supposed to be a modal card, and then you look at it and you realize, like, yeah, no, this is, or you think that you get 2 things, but really it's a modal card.
Yeah, you're picking. It's like, do I
Yeah,
need the power toughness? Do I need the ping ping?
yeah.
Yeah.
Like I think that that one's probably the trappiest thing that we have. That one is right above it is Affagardhound. Right below it is the Rivals of Ixalan printing of Cinder
Yep.
Baron.
Yep. This is the range. This is where this card is.
Okay, so I think that this card is probably better than the
Arcane
Rivals of
teachings.
Ixalan Cinder Baron. I don't know if it's better than Arcane Teachings,
Yeah. Here's what's
because
interesting.
Arcane Teachings, it does give you 2 potentially useful things.
It does. And when I think when we framed it in the modal sense, it's a weird modal card because modal cards are usually like different time stages in the game. But in
Hmm.
this one, it's actually more like destroy target artifact or enchantment. It's just like you want both effects early or immediately at the same time, right?
Hmm.
But usually one is better than the other. If you slap 2 power onto a creature, if you already have a creature going to town, you're going to be getting more damage per turn. But if you're in a situation early where you feel like there's going to be a bit more of a stalemate, you'll get longer value over time
with the ping effect.
With the ping effect. But both effects have to come down early, otherwise they're both useless. So this card just becomes trash after a certain turn. So because you just won't get the value back versus the risk. But
so do you think that puts this card above Arcane Teachings?
I think this card has a higher ceiling.
Okay.
I think it's better. I think what this card could possibly do is better. But and like, look, you're not going to get totally like, when you get screwed on value when you don't delve this card into play. Like, don't play this card for 6.
Yeah, no. At a very, very minimum, you will, like, this card should be a forecasting cost card.
Yeah,
like you should at least delve 2.
You should at least delve 2, and at the very least try to make one of them an instant or a sorcery, if at all possible. And if you're not going to be getting any instants or sorcery about this, you better be delving for 4. Otherwise, you're going to just look like an idiot. So, and I that's kind of my thing. I think you should never cast this card unless you're delving for 4.
I think delving for 3 is fine.
Yeah, okay, maybe even 3. 3 for a 3/3 flyer is good, but like I'm telling you,
minimum 2, optimum 4.
You see what it's like in Commander. It's just like, it's so funny. There's like so little room for playing those. Like I said, those cards that like we might even value in like a limited deck or whatever. It's just like, we have these fond feelings for them, but like, man, impact is so important. And if not impact, then value generation is so important. And like, this card does not have a huge board impact, and it doesn't generate value easily. So it's like, but you know what? It's better than Arcane Teachings. It is better than Arcane Teachings. Like,
okay, so right above Arcane Teachings, we have Alpha Guardhound. Is this better than Alpha Guardhound?
Okay, once again, obviously higher ceiling, right? Obviously higher in ceiling.
This has a higher ceiling than Alpha Guardhound. However, Alpha Guardhound also, it's got flash, extra toughness. A lot of times you're going to be using that to, save a creature.
Yeah, and once again, can I say that doggy bone armor? You know what I mean? And
with the pot lid shoulder pauldron.
That's right. Oh, I love you, Affagard Hound. You definitely beat this weird crab whale. So
all right. So above that is Pyre Hound, the dog with no skin.
Ooh, it was scary, but it was actually an okay card.
Yeah, Pyre Hound is just a slightly overcosted card.
Right. Really. That's what I mean. This where you're right. This one is definitely Trappity McTrapperson, which is what auras usually are. They have to do that. They have to make auras, that sweet sweet temptation that you can't say no to, and then you're just like, why did I eat the whole pizza? I don't know, maybe that's a bad analogy, but
getting 2 for 1 is like eating that whole pizza.
It is, man. I just feel guilty afterwards.
Like, you're just like, I shouldn't have done this.
Not even guilt, the shame.
I regret
the shame. All right, yeah, so that's a good home for it then, right there.
Drop it right between the dogs.
Oh, you think this is better than Alpha Guardhound? I think it's better than Arcane Teachings, but worse than Alpha Guardhound, just as a whole card. Whole card.
Yeah, I am fine with putting it below Alpha Guardhound. I was just thinking, like, okay, this, you could make an argument for it being better. I don't see it, but you could make an argument for it.
Yeah, for me, it just didn't win me on other categories enough to consider it above a flavor thing.
Yeah, we're just not making that argument. We're saying no, right in between Alpha Guardhound and Arcane Teachings.
I like that. I like it, but kind of with the other jank and the traps, and like I said, this is a card that some people might spot on the list and go, "What? That's below Pyre at Alpha Guard? What? Why is it down there?" It's just like, because it's a trap. It's a trap.
Yeah. Honestly, I wasn't thinking that this was a trap section, but the more I think about it, I'm just like, yeah, Pyre Hound. That was a card that I really loved that I think is because of its overcosted nature. It's a little
Mm-hmm.
trappy.
Yep. Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. I could see future aura enchantments ending up over here. Like everybody who likes
I
to play that.
love auras though.
Yeah, everyone who
Like,
likes to play that stupid dub card.
mhm.
Stop playing dub. It's not good.
I
But it
don't know
goes
what card you're talking about.
it's like a 3 mana enchantment that gives something 2/2 and first strike, I think.
Oh, yeah, the night. What
Oh,
is it? Nightly dub or something?
yeah, and it turns you into a knight too, and
Hmm.
it's just like, don't play that card. I know you think it's gonna
Oh,
be
it's called
awesome.
dub.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't that's what I'm saying. And everyone thinks it's like, oh, I'm gonna put that on turn 2, I'm gonna play my 3/1, and on turn 3, I'm gonna play dub. And I'm like, no, you're not, because they're just gonna like, I'm just gonna spark your stupid little 3/1 with whatever, and you just lost 2 cards, you idiot, and now you're
Hmm.
behind. So yeah.
But much like every aura, you're vulnerable for that 2-for-1.
God, it's so brutal. That's what I'm saying. Don't play dub. All right. So
Ooh, that's gonna be our first T-shirt. Say no to dub.
say no to dub. It's because I'll tell you what, like, I forgot when this happened. I swear to you, I know I was playing a draft and I
Mhm.
felt like I won the game on turn 3 when I killed their creature when they tried to dub it. And I was just like, game over, son. Right? Because
You
that
have
was,
no good cards left.
well, and it's just like, that is like, you sacrificed your tempo and card advantage. I'm already going to win on card advantage because you're coming in hot, right? But now you let me kill your tempo and card advantage you all at the same time. Like, you just gave me the game. You just gave me the game. I can't lose now. So it's just like, yeah, I've seen too many. Uh, I've dished it. So I know what a trappy trap that can be. All right, cool. Hey, that was a neat one, man. Ethereal Forager. I'm surprised. Not bad. Not bad.
It
You know,
generated more conversation than I thought we were gonna have.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. I knew there was going to be a little bit on that casting cost and the delve, but yeah, very interesting. All the things that came up, I'm glad we went into the whole commander decks and the value purchase, because people want to know like which is usually the high value ones to get. And yeah, the one with Fierce Guardianship is definitely the most bang for your buck, but it's probably the most expensive too. All right, cool. So what is the magic crystal ball? What do we see in the future of Richard Island?
This week we have gone extremely current all the way to Commander 2020,
Yep.
and next week we're going to be rewinding a whole bunch, going all the way back to 4th edition
Ooh.
with Immolation.
Oh, -2, -2.
+2 -2.
Oh, +2, -2. That's right. Okay. So
Mhm.
4th ed immolation.
So you can join us next week on Richard Island, where we're going to
Yeah.
be getting into the nitty gritty of that particular card. But until then, please follow us on Twitter at Richard Island 69. Both of us like to talk to people, so feel free to message us there. Also, do the whole like, subscribe, smash, whatever, tell your friends. All the regular end of YouTube video speech.
We'll see you next time. Thanks for coming on. Have a good one.